Hey everyone, I am Babad Alandale and I'm here to discuss questioning as an approach in a multilingual classroom or multilingual classroom setup. First is, why do we need questioning? Questioning helps the teachers decide where to take the lessons. It also provides insight to teachers if there is a need for the lessons to be taught or if the students are ready to move on to the upcoming lessons. Another reason for questioning is that it can get the students to think critically regarding the given topics and its value. Finally, questioning can also serve as quick informal assessment for the learners. But how should we do it in a multilingual classroom setup? First is, we can integrate Bloom's taxonomy in our questioning. We can incorporate evaluation for students' higher order thinking skills or simply remembering for lower order thinking skills. For an instance, we can ask the students to examine the structure of English in contrast to their home language, or we can simply ask them to share about the past lesson that they have learned. Next is, when asking questions, we should pause and give the students time to answer. And as future educators, it is also important that we don't answer our own questions. Last is, when asking a student, we should not call a student's name in the beginning of the question, otherwise some students will not pay attention. Instead, we should call their names at the end. For an instance, we can show appreciation for their participation. For the last part of our discussion, we have type of questions. Number one is managerial questions. These are the questions that we can use to simply move the lesson forward. For example, how comfortable do you feel using multiple language in various situations? Number two is rhetorical questions. This type of questions are questions that will make the students think critically. For example, have you ever found that certain concepts are easier to express in one language over another? Open questions. Number three. These are questions that we use to create discussions. For example, can you share a personal experience where knowing multiple languages has been an advantage or a challenge for you? Number four is closed questions. These types of questions are used only to check if the students retain the lessons. For example, in English, where does the adjective usually come in relation to the noun? And before we end this part of discussion, allow me to give you 3 tips in questioning. Number one is, choose randomly using a card or roulette to make the questioning more exciting. Number two is, pay attention to anxious students in order to find out who needs support, guidance, or assistance to express themselves successfully in a multilingual classroom setup. And number three is, following up questions with questions. Giving as much question as possible can encourage the learners to be more engaged with our lessons. And that is all for our discussion. I'm looking forward in seeing you again.
Great day, everyone. I'm here to discuss to you the assessment in the specific teaching approaches. Assessment is the systematic gathering, analysis, and use of data about educational programs with the goal of enhancing student learning. The main goal of assessment are to determine what knowledge, skills, and values students will possess upon in the school classroom setups. Students are able to exhibit their learning, receive comments on their mistakes, and given the opportunity to improve their performance on each evaluations. For us future educators, it's a great way to assess whether or not their methods of instructions are effective. Students acquire confidence in what they are expected to learn and at what standard as a result of becoming one involved in learning process. Giving your students assessment before starting your class can make you more knowledgeable about their capacity in learning something new. Here is some assessment that you can use in a multilingual classroom setup. Number one is comprehending content. This means that the students access the content using resources found in a multilingual classroom. For example, Araw and adlaw had a different spelling and from different languages, but they have the same meaning, which is sun. Second one is conferencing. This provides feedback to students using home language. For example, you will give feedback to a student about her grades in a way that she will understand it in a home language. The third one is collaborating. Collaborating is encouraging the students to work with others in a multilingual language. For example, giving them tasks about sharing thoughts and understandings about the lesson. The fourth one is note taking. Have the students gather information and take notes in a multilingual setup. For example, asking the students to gather information on how they can express themselves using their languages. The fifth one is drafting. Organizing, planning, brainstorming, and outline ideas in a multilingual classroom. For example, teachers are planning to give you lessons and ask you to create an artistic diagram on how multilingual classroom have effects to each of the students in a classroom. The last one is self-assessing. Self-assessings help the students reflect and self-evaluate the final product in their home language or in their multilingual language. For example, how do you feel about the people bullying others just because of their language? What can you say about that? Then the student will start self-assessing. They will start to self-evaluate about the question that the teacher have given to you. And that's all for my topic assessment. Thank you.
Good day, young learners! Today, let's embark on an exciting journey to discover the wonders of learning together through group and pair works. Imagine you're a group of brave astronauts planning a new mission to explore new planet. Each of you has a role. Some are experts in building rockets, while others excels at finding alien plants. Together, you create the ultimate space adventure. Now, pairwork is like having a magical wizard partner. Picture this. You and your friend are on quest to solve tricky math problems. One of you is fantastic at additional spells, while the other one is master of subtraction magic. Together, you conquer math challenges like a true math wizards. Whether you're exploring outer space or mastering magical maths, both group and pair works will help us grow. Imagine sharing ideas like a puzzle piece where everyone contributes to create a fantastic picture of knowledge. So, are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Let's embrace group and pair work together, just like our astronaut team and the wizard duo. Let's make our learning experience more fantastic and more extraordinary. That's it for today, guys. Thank you.
Differentiation, this means changing the pace, the level, and the kind of instruction that the teachers provide. So we, as a future educator, we should keep in mind what our student needs, their interests, their preferred learning styles, and so on, so that we can adjust, and provide them the learning that they need. Through differentiation, we should consider these three. The first one is who are we going to teach? What are their grade levels, no? Their interest, their age, and etc. So the second one is what are we going to teach to them? Okay, so we should consider their age, their grade level, no, so that we will know if this kind of content is appropriate or suitable for them or not. Third one is how we will going to teach them. So as an educator, no, we should know the strategies, the approaches that we can use, no, on how to teach them. So here are the three ways to differentiate. The first one is the content, the second one is the process, and the third one is the product. So for example, you have a student that is reading below grade level. So we can differentiate the content by providing a reading material or a reading text that is suitable to the learner's reading level. And the second one is we can differentiate the learning process by providing the learner the audio version of the reading text. See how learning being assessed. So we can offer the learners a choice of their final output. So you can have a worksheets and etc. that can showcase what students have learned from the discussion or from the content. How can we influence student learning? So we have to consider these three. The first one is the readiness. You should know our student is ready to learn or to accept the specific content. And you should also know their proficiency, their abilities, so that you can provide what's suited for them. The second one is the interest. So as a teacher, you should know what are the interests of your students. So you should choose the topics that interest your learners. For example, the TikTok, the social medias, and so on. And the third one is the learning profile. So as a teacher, we should know our students. No, we should know their intelligence preference, their hobbies, their interests, and etc.